You want the truth? Then listen carefully, because once you know this story, you will never feel safe in your own home again. It began in a forgotten neighborhood, a street most people never drove down because there was nothing there except one row of aging houses, peeling paint, half-rotten fences, windows covered with grime. At the end of that street stood a house that everyone avoided. People whispered about it, but nobody ever spoke too loudly because deep down they were afraid that saying the wrong words might draw attention. The house belonged to the Wilkins family. A father, a mother, 3 children. Normal, ordinary, until the night of October 14th, when everything inside those walls turned into a scene so horrific that even hardened homicide detectives refused to enter without gagging. When officers finally broke the lock, the first thing they noticed was the smell. It wasn't just blood, it was rot, metallic, thick, like the air itself had been soaked in iron. The walls of the hallway were streaked with handprints, not random, but deliberate, dragging upward like someone had clawed toward the ceiling as they were pulled away. The father was the first body they found. He lay at the bottom of the stairs, throat open from ear to ear, eyes wide, frozen in shock. His jaw was broken, twisted unnaturally, as if someone had torn it apart with bare hands. But there was no defensive struggle, no smashed furniture, no overturned chairs. He had been taken by surprise. The mother was in the kitchen, tied to a chair with thick cord. Her wrists were swollen, skin burned raw from struggling. A carving knife was embedded so deep into her neck that only the handle remained. Blood had soaked her dress, dripped into a pool on the floor that had already turned dark, sticky. But her face was the worst part. Her mouth had been forced open, something stuffed inside. When they pulled it out, they realized it was a piece of shattered mirror, edges still sharp, cutting her tongue to ribbons. The children? God, the children. 2 boys, ages 9 and 11, were found in their shared bedroom. They hadn't been stabbed or shot. Their throats had been slit so clean it looked surgical. They were laid side by side, hands folded across their chests, like someone wanted them to look peaceful. But the bed sheets told the real story. Soaked, stained, chaos everywhere. They had not died quietly. The youngest, a girl only 5 years old, was discovered in the bathroom. The tub was half full, water stained pink. Her small body was submerged face down, hair floating like seaweed. But her wrists had been cut too, thin red lines trailing down her arms. The coroner said she had been alive when she went into the water, that she had struggled, lungs filling slowly until silence finally swallowed her. And yet, none of that is what made the case infamous. What made it unforgettable was the mirrors. Every mirror in the house had been smashed into dozens of fragments, and those fragments weren't scattered randomly. They were placed carefully, in patterns, in circles around the bodies, as if the killer had wanted the victims to be surrounded by their own broken reflections in their final moments. Some pieces were arranged to form words, jagged letters across the floorboards. One word appeared over and over again: look. The police tried to keep it quiet, tried to tell the press it was just another home invasion, some lunatic with a knife. But the evidence didn't match. No forced entry beyond the front door. No fingerprints anywhere. Not a single footprint in the blood. It was like whoever did it wasn't even human. Neighbors gave statements. They said they had heard things in the weeks leading up to the murders. Slow, dragging footsteps outside at night, circling the house, sometimes stopping at windows. One woman swore she saw a tall figure in a black hood standing in the Wilkins yard at 3 in the morning, not moving for nearly half an hour. She thought it was a shadow until it tilted its head toward her and then vanished when she blinked. After the murders, things didn't stop. Police put tape around the house, locked it up, but patrol cars reported hearing noises inside. Whispers, crashes, the sound of glass breaking, even though there weren't any mirrors left. One rookie officer stayed inside for less than 20 minutes before sprinting back outside, pale, shaking, barely able to speak. When he finally opened his mouth, all he could say was, "They're still standing, they're still in there, but they're not breathing." He quit the force 2 days later. The most disturbing part came from a piece of footage, a grainy security camera across the street. At 3:17 a.m., the exact time coroners estimated the murders began, a figure walked slowly toward the Wilkins house. Tall, thin, hood pulled low, no visible face. It stood motionless at the front door for 5 full minutes. Then the door opened by itself. The figure stepped inside. The recording glitched, static filled the frame, and when the picture returned, the house lights had gone dark. Detectives analyzed the video frame by frame. They noticed something chilling. In the reflection of a parked car's window, the figure appeared headless. Its hood was empty, nothing but darkness inside. The press never saw that footage. The department buried it, called it a technical error. But copies circulate on the dark web, traded like cursed artifacts. Anyone who watches it claims that for days afterward, they hear dragging footsteps outside their window at night. The house was eventually demolished, but demolition workers reported accidents. Tools going missing, scaffolding collapsing. One man cut badly when a shard of glass somehow appeared in his glove, even though no mirrors remained. The lot today is empty, fenced off, but sometimes on quiet nights, people still swear they see light flickering in the grass where the kitchen once stood, like reflections bouncing off broken glass. Legends grew. They call it the Mirror Man, a faceless collector who uses reflections as doors, who breaks glass to trap pieces of the soul. He doesn't kill for money or revenge. He kills because once you see him, he sees you. And once he sees you, he will never let you go. And here's the detail no one wants to believe. People who have read the full police report, survivors, officers, journalists, many of them disappeared in the years after. Some were found dead, their houses staged in the same way as the Wilkins. Others simply vanished, leaving mirrors shattered in their empty rooms. Now you've heard it. You know the story. You know the details the public was never meant to hear. And that's dangerous, because the legend says he comes not for houses, but for the people who speak his name, who picture his faceless reflection in the dark. So tonight, when you go to bed, when the lights are out and your screen goes black, look carefully at your reflection. Watch for movement that isn't yours. Listen for glass cracking where there shouldn't be any. And if you hear slow, dragging footsteps outside your window, whatever you do, don't look, don't breathe, don't make a sound. Because once you see him, he will stand by your bed. And once he stands there, he will not leave until you join the others. And when they find you, if they find you, you'll be surrounded by broken mirrors, your reflection staring back at you from every angle, mouth open in a scream you never got the chance to make.